Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode here at WILDMAN Lives. I'm your host, WILDMAN. Now, on today's episode, I'm going to discuss a day I had in the gym yesterday. Now, most gyms have an axle bar, and that's just because CrossFit and Strongman is getting much more popular in commercial gyms. So in this gym that I was in, it had an axle bar, and I was using it for bench press. And I got a lot of questions when I was doing this workout yesterday as to why exactly I like to use the axle bar, not just for other variation lifts, just squats or deadlifts or overhead press, but why do I use it on the bench press? What's really that much of a difference? So let's pop into that day's workout and I'll explain my reasoning. Alrighty, so this is what I've got set up for today's giant set. So I'm going to be doing the axle bar like I just said. And mainly I'm going to be working up to a 1 rep max, but not a true 1 rep max. I'm just going to kind of see how it feels for 1 rep. And I have a specific number in mind, so we'll see if we get there today. And in between, I'm going to be doing some farmer walks. Now that weight is just going to stay the same the entire time during the giant set, because I just mainly want to get myself warmed up, activate my core, activate my back, activate my traps, and to do a fun strongman movement as I'm going up in weight. That's going to be the giant set for the day. Now obviously, not only the axle bar, but the trap bar as well. These are variation lifts. So I'm using the axle bar as a variation lift for the bench press, and I'm using this trap bar as a variation for the deadlift. But since it has those neutral grip handles, it makes it a nice implement to use for farmer walks, because that's what you commonly would use for farmer walks. Now the reason why I like to do these variation lifts is because it stimulates the muscle differently. Now just for the axle bar alone, since that's the topic of this video, the axle bar is thicker in diameter, does not bend, it's very stiff like a pipe. It is about 2 inches in diameter, and the ends do not rotate and there's no knurling. Now for the bench press, it's actually kind of easier, I think, because it doesn't bend. However, because that thing is so thick and so stiff, in my opinion, it actually activates the chest a whole lot better than a barbell does. Usually when I'm done doing the bench press with an axle bar, my chest is lit up like a Christmas tree, no joke. And that's just simply because of its shape and design. It really just emphasizes more stimulus to that chest area. Versus when I have a barbell, not particularly. It's more of a compound movement, and the bar is meant to be lifted. So I'm able to use a lot more muscle when I'm doing that. But for the axle bar, it is a lot stiffer. And since it's thicker, it does make the stimulus get hit on that chest a lot more than I believe a barbell does. So that's kind of the benefit of doing an axle bar bench press. Now, I was getting up to my top sets here, and 300 was going to determine just how much further I wanted to go up. And I must say, I was really feeling it in my chest. And of course, I'm scared to get injuries, and I'm scared that I'm going to get a pec tear or something like that. So even though that felt and looked really smooth, I was feeling a lot of chest activation. So I decided to go for a weight that I've hit before, since I'm just using this for training right now. I'm not trying to get actually better at the actual bench press. I'm using it to get better at the actual bench press. So I'm going to save myself for that day. So I just decided to do 330. This seemed to be the perfect amount of weight, because it definitely slowed down a lot more, but it was still smooth and I had great technique. So since I was all nice and warm from doing trap bar deadlifts and farmer walks with it, it kind of just seemed to flow nicely with that. Now for the variation giant set, I was doing 3 rounds, and I just decided to do 260 pounds because my chest did feel kind of fried. So I didn't want to go any higher than that. And I kind of wanted to see how it would feel after 6 reps, and 6 reps actually ended up being perfect, because this is actually the bulk of the workout right now. Really just going up in weight is just kind of fun for me to see, to go up to a 1 rep max on a variation lift. But it's really this part right here, the volume portion, is where I'm going to get the most amount of work and the most amount of training, where I'm actually going to improve on my next bench press session. And that's just simply because of the volume aspect. I worked up to a heavy set, right? and then you drop it back down. You can take a percentage. I mean, this is kind of a knockoff of conjugate, but I just go by feel. And since that was moving slow on the 6 reps on the second round, I just thought that's a perfect amount of weight right there. And I was kind of guessing to see if I was going to hit 6 reps on this last round, which I ended up not being able to do, which is fine because basically I pushed it to like a safe fatigue. I got to the 5th rep and it moved way too slow. And if I, really wanted to, I could have gone for a 6 rep, but there really is no purpose of that, right? This is just meant to be a training session and a training tool. I wasn't trying to go too heavy. And if I didn't mention before, I actually added more weight to the trap bar during the volume portion. And then I added even more weight for the assistance giant set, because now I'm going to dumb down the weight for my chest, but I'm going to up the weight on the trap bar. And the idea was just to kind of go back and forth and to do the pec fly machine that's in the gym to really isolate my chest, and to do and work up to a heavy 10 rep max on the overhead tricep extension machine. And I didn't really know how far I wanted to go on the trap bar because I had done heavy deadlifts like a few days back. So again, this is a different kind of stimulus for the deadlift. And since it's not the exact same motion that I was doing those few days ago, I could push it a little bit. So this is 395 pounds on that bar. And that's because for the gym math, that trap bar there is 75 pounds, which I have to keep getting reminded because I keep forgetting how much that trap bar is. I have to ask people who are in the gym constantly, how much does this trap bar weigh? So this is my final set here, and it was 415 pounds. And it actually went faster and smoother than I anticipated. So this actually went very well. It was an overall good session on both ends, and I didn't push it too hard. Now for the accessory giant set, I was doing hand release push-ups. This is a great movement to do in order to mimic that same bench press pattern, but overloading the chest from the bottom. And then I also did some pull-up press, which isolates your obliques and really finishes off those obliques at the end of a workout. Great exercise to do. And of course, face pulls to finish off the back and for overall shoulder health. So there you have it. That's the reason why I like to use the axle bar. And as a testament to its actual usefulness, my chest is very sore today. And using that trap bar, surprisingly, my core, like my abs, that's actually been twitching a lot more. And I feel it secondary in the traps and in the back. Really hope everybody enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.